Hi, Andrew Bell here, and at last we can put the election behind us and get on with life. And today I particularly want to look at one of the key drivers of price, and that is the balance of supply and demand. Thank you, by the way, to so many who gave some feedback to my last e-newsletter, and it seems I touched on an area that there was almost universal agreement. But once again, thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts. Clearly, the demand for real estate has its foundation in population growth. Every person needs somewhere to live, and so they either have to rent one or buy one. And therefore, as our population grows, so does the demand for real estate. I mentioned recently about population growth, and whilst we are below the record levels, we are still at strong growth levels on a percentage basis, but in terms of real numbers, people on the ground, it gets larger and larger every year. On current population growth trends, we need between 172,000 and 186,000 brand new properties built in Australia every year. That's based on the current census. It says on average there are 2.6 people in every household. Now that demand is channeled into either existing homes or apartments, or brand new homes or apartments. Obviously, if we don't build enough brand new properties through new developments, then it pushes all of that demand into existing homes. And as such, that is what has been driving resale prices considerably higher. One of the problems we've faced is that 4 out of 5 Australians live in the country's 20 largest cities. And most of that's down the eastern seaboard and down across the bottom of Victoria across to Adelaide. In fact, you'll see on screen now the white shaded area, which is where 98% of the population lives. The big issue we have is that from 2006 through to 2011, population growth excessively exceeded new construction. And that is a major part of the reason we've seen strong price growth in the post-GFC period. We needed new dwellings to ease the pressure on resale properties, and that's only occurred in the more recent years. There are two figures that we look at in this regard. The first is development approvals. Now, just over 227,000 dwellings were approved in the 12 months to May. Now, that was down almost 3% from just the month before at the end of April. In fact, the actual drop between the 2 months was 5.2%. This drop in approvals was the first since January and the biggest drop since November. And the biggest decline was in approvals for dwellings. One thing we have to remember is that nationally, approximately 18% of all approvals never get to construction phase. Either the developer loses confidence or we can't get the finance. So whilst approvals are currently above the numbers needed to meet the current population growth, we needed many years of construction to occur to catch up on the undersupply that existed in recent years. So let's look at the actual construction numbers. Remember I mentioned just a moment ago that there were 227,000 approvals in the year to May. Well, the most recent construction numbers show that we peaked in 2015, where we saw in the 12 months to December 15, a record number of 190,072 dwellings constructed nationally. Now this is only a little above the numbers required to meet the population growth. And whilst yes, it did eat minutely into the undersupply, we really need years and years and years of significant growth in construction numbers to affect the undersupply and stop forcing price increases in the marketplaces to the levels they've been. It is concerning that construction levels are now declining, as it won't help easing real estate prices. Part of the problem also is that banks are starting to deleverage risk, and as such they are shying away from financing some developments, or indeed limiting finance that they will do. So it's making it more difficult for developers to build. Also, with the recent increasing of stamp duty for foreign purchasers, and with the banks almost stopping lending to foreign purchasers, we're taking away one of the key confidence platforms for developers. And that is, of course, the ability to sell some of their product to overseas buyers. And as such, many developers have decided not to proceed with new developments, adding to the undersupply. It'll be interesting to watch this space going forward. Whilst developers are seen by so many people as greedy, self-interested people, they're a vital part of any country's housing equation. and certainly here in Australia. And we should do all that we can to encourage new development in the right places to add to our housing supply and reduce the risk of overinflated annual price increases for real estate. Well, that's it for this week, and I look forward to being with you in a fortnight's time. Stay safe.